Dusk had always been a quiet time on the port city of Arendor, when the sky turned soft shades of orange and purple, and the lights of the hovering vessels reflected like tiny stars on the water below. The city itself was alive with the hum of machinery, the occasional chatter of citizens, and the steady movement of cargo drones and ships returning from nearby colonies. But on this evening, something unusual broke the rhythm of ordinary life. From the edge of the horizon, a faint shimmer appeared, unlike the usual re-entry trails of returning ships. At first, it was dismissed as a trick of the fading light, a reflection of the sun on distant clouds. But as seconds passed, the shimmer became a clear outline, a ship emerging from hyperspace, gliding gracefully toward the port. Its shape was unmistakably old, a design used more than a century ago, long before modern warp drives had become standard. People paused wherever they were. Workers stopped their drones mid-flight. Merchants froze in place, and children pressed their noses against viewing screens. The ship was not only old but scarred, as if it had carried the weight of countless journeys. Its hull was dented, panels mismatched, and lights flickered in uneven pulses. Some of the older citizens gasped, remembering stories their grandparents had told of this very class of ship, lost in space during humanity's early interstellar expansion. That's the Arcadia," whispered an elderly engineer, eyes wide. "I thought it was gone forever." News broadcasts erupted with urgency. Holo anchors spoke rapidly about the century-old vessel returning after all this time. Scientists, historians, and military officials quickly convened, sending automated drones to observe the ship. Early readings indicated the ship had a functioning power source and life support systems still online, but it also emitted an unfamiliar energy signature. It pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. In the midst of this excitement, Dr. Leora Cade, a young communications officer and scientist, stared at her console in disbelief. She had spent her life studying lost signals from deep space, hoping to catch something extraordinary. And now, the universe had delivered the impossible. The ship was broadcasting a signal, a series of pulses that did not match any known human coding. The signal repeated in a pattern that felt deliberate, almost intelligent. "This is incredible," Leora murmured to herself, her fingers hovering over the interface. "It's trying to tell us something." Her supervisor, Commander Velen, approached. He was a tall, sturdy man with eyes that always seemed to measure the potential of a situation. "Do you have any idea what it is?" he asked. "Not yet," Leora replied, her voice tight with excitement. "It's new. I've never seen anything like it. The ship itself, it's old, yes, but this signal, it feels alive." Velen studied the readings. "Then we need to find out who or what is aboard. Prepare a boarding team. I want answers before anyone else touches that ship." As the sun dipped below the horizon, the ship drifted closer to the port. Its movements were slow and deliberate, as if it were aware of the crowd gathering to watch it return. Holo cameras captured every angle, broadcasting it across the colony. Children pressed their faces against screens in classrooms. Merchants paused their transactions, and engineers held their tools mid-air, all witnessing a moment that seemed larger than life. Leora and her team suited up. The docking bay was crowded, but the city allowed the Arcadia priority access, cordoning off other ships. Leora felt her heart race not from fear, but from anticipation. She had always known that humanity's reach into the stars would yield surprises, but she had never imagined one would come like this. Returning after 100 years, when the boarding ramp extended and locked onto the ship, a soft hum echoed through the bay. The hull was cold to the touch. Though the lights inside flickered faintly, the airlock opened with a hiss, revealing the interior, dimly lit but intact. It was quiet, too quiet. Dust floated in the beams of light, undisturbed by the passing years. The design was familiar, yet alien in its old-fashioned simplicity. Control panels were lined with switches and levers. Holographic displays faded, but still responsive to touch. The boarding team moved carefully, each step measured. Leora scanned the ship's internal systems, noting the subtle fluctuations in power that matched the rhythm of the mysterious signal. "It's almost alive," she said, her voice echoing slightly in the empty corridor. Captain Rian, the leader of the boarding team, nodded. Or it wants us to think it is. Stay alert, but keep calm. As they advanced, the ship seemed to respond. Lights along the walls pulsed gently in rhythm with the signal. Doors opened just as the team approached, as if the ship were guiding them. Some of the team members felt a strange pull, a sense of familiarity or recognition they could not explain. Leora felt it most strongly, an unshakable feeling that the ship had been waiting for her. Or perhaps for someone like her. In the central chamber, the signal's source became apparent. A spherical core floated above the floor, encased in translucent energy. Its surface shimmered with strange symbols and patterns, constantly shifting in ways that suggested intelligence rather than randomness. Leora approached cautiously, her instruments going wild at the readings. "This is extraordinary," she whispered. She reached out, almost hesitantly, and touched a panel beside the core. Immediately, the ship responded. The hum grew louder, and a holographic display activated, projecting images of distant star systems, unknown planets, and paths through regions of space humanity had never explored. The rest of the team gasped. "Is it showing us a map?" one of them asked. Leora shook her head. "Not a map, exactly. More like coordinates, or directions. But they're not familiar. I don't recognize these constellations." As they studied the display, a soft pulse of light emitted from the core, filling the room with warmth. Leora realized that the signal was not just information, it was a form of communication, and it seemed to be specifically for them. Suddenly, all instruments in the room went silent. The lights dimmed, and for a moment, the team felt a strange stillness, as if the ship itself were holding its breath. Then, just as suddenly, the systems rebooted. Stronger than before, the signal now pulsed more clearly, patterns sharper, almost as if the ship were confirming their presence. Commander Velen's voice came through the comms. "Leora, what's happening? Can you read the signal?" Leora took a deep breath. "It's trying to guide us. I think the ship wants us to follow it." A murmur ran through the team. Following a century-old ship with unknown technology into uncharted space was not something they had trained for. Yet, something in the way the ship responded, the gentle pulses, and the way the core seemed almost sentient, convinced them it was the right choice. As they prepared to explore further, a sudden flash of light illuminated the chamber. The ship emitted a soft hum, unlike any engine they had known, vibrating through the floor and walls. Instruments recorded readings off the charts. The signal was growing stronger, more insistent, almost like a heartbeat quickening with excitement. Leora stepped closer to the core. "It's alive, I think. Not in the way we think of life, but in its own way. It's aware of us, and it's welcoming us." Captain Rian studied her closely. "Then we move carefully. We respect it, and we see where it leads. That's our job. Humanity has always done this. We explore, we learn, we adapt." Outside, the city watched as the Arcadia's hull glowed faintly in the twilight, lights pulsing with the rhythm of the signal. Citizens whispered to one another, children pressed their eyes to viewing screens, and scientists recorded every detail. A century-old ship, lost to time, had returned carrying a message not just for humanity, but for those who were ready to understand it. As night fell over Arendor, the boarding team gathered in the central chamber. Leora's hands hovered over the console, her heart beating in time with the ship's pulse. The signal continued its mysterious rhythm, filling the room with an almost tangible energy. And then, as if acknowledging their resolve, the ship emitted a brief, soft pulse that resonated throughout the port. Communications across the city experienced a strange interference. Screens flickered, and for a brief moment, everyone felt a shared sense of awe. The Arcadia was not just a ship, it was a guide, a messenger, and a challenge. It had returned for a reason, and the universe was waiting for humanity to answer. Leora exhaled, a mixture of excitement and wonder flooding her. "We're not alone in this," she said softly. "And whatever is out there, it's time we meet it." The Arcadia hummed again, its lights flickering in acknowledgement. Outside, the last rays of the sun disappeared behind the horizon, and the city of Arendor entered a night that would be remembered for centuries. Humanity's journey, guided by an ancient ship and a strange new signal, had only just begun. The night on Arendor was quiet, but inside the Arcadia, time seemed to move differently. The ship's core pulsed softly, lighting the corridors with gentle waves of blue and green. Leora and the boarding team had spent hours studying the strange energy signature. They had come to a tentative conclusion. The signal was not just a transmission. It was a form of intelligence embedded in the ship itself. Leora sat cross-legged on the floor of the central chamber, instruments scattered around her. Every reading confirmed that the ship was alive in a way humanity had never seen. It reacted to their presence, adjusted its energy flow, and seemed to guide them deeper into its interior. Captain Rian paced nearby, arms crossed. "It's incredible," he admitted. "We've found ships before, relics of our early expansion, but nothing like this. Nothing that seems aware." Leora looked up from the display panel. "It's not aware in a human sense. It's more like a tree or a coral reef. It reacts, grows, and adapts. But it can communicate. I think it's trying to show us something." She tapped a series of commands into the console, and the holographic map expanded. Constellations flickered into view. Strange symbols overlaid them, and glowing lines connected points across space. It was a pattern, a network, but one that defied conventional logic. "One of these points is within our galaxy," Leora said slowly, pointing at a glowing blue dot. "The rest, they seem to be beyond anything mapped. Some might not even exist yet, at least not in our records. The ship knows something we don't." Rian leaned over her shoulder. "So, it wants us to go there?" "I think so," Leora said. "But this is more than a map. It's a message, a test, maybe even an invitation. The ship has waited a century, and now it has found the right crew." The rest of the boarding team gathered around, each member mesmerized. Among them was Engineer Solon, a quiet man who preferred machines to people, and Navigator Kira, a young pilot whose instincts had saved countless ships during training simulations. Both were skilled, yet even they were visibly humbled by the presence of the ancient vessel. "This is the kind of discovery people write books about," Solon muttered, brushing a hand over the ship's paneling. "I never imagined we'd see something like this in our lifetime." Kira's eyes sparkled. "And we get to be the first to follow it. Imagine what we'll find." But even as excitement filled the chamber, a sense of caution lingered. The ship's power readings were stable, but unpredictable. It had been lost for a century. No one knew what had caused it to return, or why it had waited for this exact moment. Leora tapped another control, bringing up a display of the ship's internal logs. They were fragmented, but enough remained to tell a story. The Arcadia had traveled through regions of space long abandoned by humanity. Its crew, lost to history, had attempted to chart a path to the unknown. Yet the logs ended abruptly, with no record of the ship's final destination until now. "Look at this," Leora said, pointing at a sequence of entries. "These aren't just coordinates. They're instructions. Directions for whoever finds the ship. Someone or something wanted this knowledge delivered." Rian frowned. "And now it's us. We're the ones who get the answers." "Yes," Leora said, her voice steady. "And we need to be careful. This isn't just a treasure hunt. The ship could be guiding us to knowledge we aren't ready for. Or it could be testing our judgment." For hours, the team worked in silence, decoding the signals, observing the ship's reactions, and mapping the coordinates. Each time they approached a new panel, the core pulsed more brightly, almost as if approving their progress. The sense of being watched, not in a threatening way, but in a protective, guiding way, was undeniable. As the first half of the night passed, Solon noticed something unusual. The ship's energy patterns. Their forming shapes. almost like constellations inside the chamber. They correspond to the map. It's as if the ship itself is a living star chart. Leora's eyes widened. That's exactly it. The ship is not just showing us a destination. It's teaching us how to read the universe differently. These patterns are lessons. Whoever designed this wanted humanity to learn something new, to see beyond our usual perception of space and time. Kira leaned closer to the core, studying the shifting symbols. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "I've never seen anything like it. It's peaceful, in a way. Like the universe itself is welcoming us." And then, just as Leora was about to respond, the ship emitted a soft vibration that traveled through the floor, walls, and ceiling. Every instrument in the room reacted, displays flickered, and the holographic maps seemed to ripple. The team froze. "It's communicating differently now," Leora said, her voice quiet but intense. "The signal has changed. It's no longer just patterns, it's emotion, curiosity, encouragement, maybe even trust." Rian glanced at the team. "So it trusts us?" "I think so," Leora said. "At least it's giving us the tools to follow its path. It wants to see if we can use them responsibly." The mood in the chamber shifted from excitement to reverent focus. Every member of the team felt the weight of the moment. This was not just exploration. It was a partnership between humans and something far older than they could imagine. As the hours passed, they began to understand more of the signal. The patterns were a combination of mathematics, geometry, and something that resembled language. Each symbol represented a concept, rather than a word, a way to convey ideas across time and space without confusion. Leora smiled as she decoded a particularly complex sequence. "It's describing how to navigate anomalies in space. These aren't normal hazards. Gravity distortions, energy storms, even areas of empty space that behave unpredictably. The ship has found a way to move through them safely, and now it's teaching us." Kira's hands hovered over the console. "So this ship isn't just ancient, it's revolutionary. The knowledge it carries could change everything about how we travel, how we explore, even how we understand the universe." Solon nodded, awe in his eyes. "And we're the first to see it in over 100 years. That's incredible. Humanity has always survived by curiosity and courage. Now we get to prove that again." Leora tapped a final command, and the ship's internal lights dimmed slightly. A soft projection appeared above the core, a three-dimensional star chart unlike any they had seen. It was vast, stretching into areas of space no human had mapped, showing connections, flows of energy, and pathways through otherwise dangerous regions. "This is a highway of knowledge," Leora said softly. "And it's ours to follow." Hold. Suddenly, the projection shifted. The glowing points of light moved closer, forming a shape that resembled a vessel. It was small and delicate, yet unmistakably advanced. The ship seemed to be giving them a destination, a location where they could learn even more. Rian leaned back, taking a deep breath. "We follow it. Whatever it wants to teach us, we go." Leora nodded, excitement and a sense of responsibility mingling in her chest. "Yes, but we do it carefully. We observe, we learn, and we respect the guidance the ship is giving us. This is bigger than any single discovery. It's a chance for humanity to grow." As the night deepened, the boarding team began to plan. They would prepare the Arcadia for a journey beyond known space, following the path the ship had carefully designed. Supplies were checked, instruments calibrated, and every system examined. The ship itself seemed to assist, corridors lighting the most efficient paths, controls adjusting to the team's needs, almost as if it were guiding their hands. Hours later, Leora stood near the core, feeling the rhythm of the ship's signal through her fingertips. It was steady, deliberate, and comforting. She realized that the Arcadia was not just a vessel, it was a teacher, a companion, and a test of human ingenuity. "Do you think we're ready?" Kira asked quietly. Leora looked at her friends, at the ship, and at the starry sky beyond the open viewports. We have to be. The universe is offering us a chance. If we take it with care, with respect, and curiosity, we can learn more than anyone has in centuries. This is what humanity is made for. To explore, to understand, and to grow. Outside, the city of Arendor slept under the gentle glow of distant stars. Inside the Arcadia, a century-old ship had awakened, guiding a new generation of humans toward the unknown. The pulse of the signal continued, stronger and clearer than ever, a heartbeat that promised discovery, challenge, and wonder. And as the first preparations for departure were completed, Leora knew one thing for certain. This journey would change humanity forever. The Arcadia had returned not just to share knowledge, but to show what humans could become when curiosity, courage, and intelligence worked together. The Arcadia hummed softly as it lifted from the Arendor port. Its ancient engines glowed with energy that no one had fully understood, and yet they moved the ship with precision and grace. Outside, the city lights shrank, replaced by the infinite darkness of space dotted with stars. Leora, Captain Rian, and the rest of the boarding team were strapped into their seats, staring at the stars beyond the viewport, each feeling the weight of the journey ahead. "This is it," Kira said quietly, her hands resting lightly on the navigation console. "Beyond the charts. Beyond everything we know." Leora nodded. "Yes, the signal has shown us the way. Now we follow it." As the ship accelerated, the familiar constellations of their galaxy began to blur. Time and space stretched strangely, yet the Arcadia moved smoothly. As if guided by an invisible hand, it was unlike any hyperspace jump they had trained for. The ship did not merely travel, it flowed through space, slipping between dimensions and weaving through regions that were once considered impassable. Engineer Solon sat at his console, eyes wide. These energy readings, they're stable, but different. The ship isn't just moving through space, it's interacting with it, bending it gently, like it knows the way. Rian nodded. That's why it has waited a century. It wasn't lost, it was preparing, waiting for someone who could follow its path safely. Hours passed in silence, broken only by the soft hum of the ship and occasional exclamations of wonder as new phenomena appeared outside the viewport. A river of luminous particles stretched across space like a flowing cosmic river. Strange, floating structures glimmered in the distance, remnants of civilizations long gone. Leora's instruments registered patterns of energy, suggesting that these were not mere debris, but the remains of intelligent life, carefully preserved by forces they did not yet understand. "It's beautiful," Kira whispered. "I never imagined the universe could be like this." "And we get to see it firsthand," Leora replied. "We're walking where no one has walked in 100 years. The Arcadia is showing us that exploration is more than survival, it's understanding and wonder." As they moved further, the ship's signal pulsed again, brighter and more insistent. Leora tapped into the core, translating the energy into a visual pattern. It was a complex network of glowing threads, linking points across space, almost like a living map. The team realized that the ship was guiding them through regions where normal navigation would be impossible. Gravity wells, magnetic storms, and radiation fields appeared on the viewports, yet the Arcadia slipped through them with ease. "Every obstacle is accounted for," Solon said, astonished. "The ship knows exactly how to move through space. It's like it can see the universe as a whole, and maybe it can," Leora added. "Perhaps the signal isn't just a guide, it's a consciousness embedded in the ship, connected to the very fabric of space. It's showing us what it has learned over centuries." The crew began to feel a sense of connection with the ship. It was subtle at first, a warmth in the corridors, a soft pulse under their hands, but it grew stronger as the hours passed. They began to notice that when they made careful decisions, the ship responded, guiding them gently but clearly. When hesitation or doubt appeared, the signal dimmed slightly, almost encouraging them to focus and trust. Rian watched the team carefully. "This isn't just technology, it's a partnership. The Arcadia wants us to learn, and we have to rise to that challenge." Suddenly, a field of energy appeared ahead. The instruments flashed warnings, but the ship did not slow. Instead, the core pulsed rapidly, and Leora realized that the Arcadia was adjusting the energy around them, creating a safe passage. Streams of luminous particles swirled around the ship, bending light and energy in patterns that were breathtaking to watch. Kira's voice trembled with awe. "It's beautiful. It's like the universe itself is alive, and the ship is letting us pass through safely." Leora smiled. "Exactly. This is why the ship has waited for us. It's teaching us to see beyond fear and uncertainty, to understand the universe in its own terms." Hours turned into days. The Arcadia moved through regions of space that had been considered uncharted and dangerous. The team documented everything: the luminous streams, floating structures, and energy flows. Each discovery brought a new sense of wonder, but also the realization that humanity's understanding of space was still tiny compared to the universe's vastness. One evening, as the crew rested, Leora noticed something unusual on her instruments. A faint, repeating pattern appeared in the signal, different from the navigational cues, different from the energy pulses. It was subtle, almost hidden, but it resonated deeply, like a hidden melody. "What is that?" Kira asked, leaning over her shoulder. Leora shook her head. "I don't know yet, but it feels important, almost like a message." Over the next few hours, Leora worked to decode the new pattern. Slowly, a picture began to emerge. The signal wasn't just guiding them through space, it was showing the history of the regions they were passing through. Ancient civilizations, long extinct, their stories embedded in the energy of the universe. The Arcadia was not just a ship. It was a library, a teacher, and a storyteller. Solan, watching her work, muttered, "The ship is helping us understand history, science, and space all at once. It's incredible." Leora nodded. "It's more than that. It's reminding us that humanity is part of something much larger. We are explorers, learners, and problem solvers. That's our greatest strength, and the Arcadia is showing us how to use it." Days passed, and the crew grew more confident in their journey. They followed the signal through regions of breathtaking beauty and subtle danger, always guided by the Arcadia. They encountered fields of floating crystal-like formations that refracted light in dazzling arrays, massive energy currents that shimmered like ribbons across space, and planets with ecosystems entirely unlike anything humanity had seen. On one planet, they observed creatures that moved with the rhythm of the wind and light itself. They had no physical form as humans understood it. They were patterns of energy, interacting with the environment in perfect harmony. The team watched in awe, realizing that life in the universe could take forms far beyond imagination. "This is why the ship has waited," Leora said softly. "It's showing us that life, intelligence, and knowledge are not limited to what we know. Humanity must learn to see beyond our assumptions." Captain Rian smiled. "And we are. Every day, every observation, every decision, this journey is teaching us what it means to be human in a universe full of wonders." As they continued, the Arcadia led them to a region where space itself seemed to ripple. Gravity behaved unpredictably, and light bent in strange ways. Leora's instruments recorded data that challenged all known physics. Yet, the Arcadia moved confidently, guided by its own understanding of the universe. "It's teaching us to trust, to adapt, and to respect the unknown," Leora said. "We're learning more than just navigation. We're learning to think like explorers, to see the universe as it really is." At the center of this strange region, the ship projected a holographic image, an enormous structure floating in space, glowing faintly with energy. It was clearly artificial, yet it was unlike anything humanity had built. Its surface was covered in patterns and symbols that resonated with the Arcadia's signal. "That must be the destination," Kira said, her voice filled with awe. "The ship has been guiding us here all along." Leora studied the projection. "Yes. And whatever is inside, it will teach us even more. We must approach carefully, observe, and learn. That's why the Arcadia chose us. It trusts that we can do this." As they neared the structure, the ship's core pulsed in a strong, steady rhythm. The patterns of light in the corridors reflected the excitement of discovery. Every member of the team felt a connection with the ship and with the universe itself. They had entered uncharted territory, but they were not afraid. The Arcadia was their guide, their teacher, and their companion. Hours later, they entered the orbit of the massive structure. It was silent, majestic, and awe-inspiring. The Arcadia aligned itself perfectly, and the crew prepared to board, knowing that what lay ahead could change humanity's understanding of space forever. Leora took a deep breath, looking at her companions. This is what we were meant to find. The universe has been waiting for humanity to reach this point. And now we are here. Let's see what it wants to teach us. The ship hummed in agreement, a pulse that felt almost like a heartbeat. Outside, the stars stretched infinitely, but the Arcadia and its crew had found their place among them, a place of learning, wonder, and exploration. Humanity had taken another step into the unknown, guided by curiosity, intelligence, and courage. And as the first boarding team prepared to enter the massive structure, every member of the Arcadia's crew understood that their journey was no longer just about exploration. It was about understanding, about partnership with the universe itself, and about discovering what humans could achieve when they followed knowledge, wonder, and hope. The pulse of the Arcadia's signal continued, steady and strong, echoing through the ship and the hearts of those aboard. The universe was vast, mysterious, and full of possibility, and humanity, guided by its curiosity and courage, had just begun to learn its true place among the stars. The Arcadia hovered quietly near the enormous structure, its hull glowing faintly under the soft light of distant stars. The massive formation seemed alive in its stillness, covered with intricate patterns and symbols that pulsed with faint energy. Leora, Captain Rian, Kira, and the rest of the boarding team gathered in the central chamber, their faces illuminated by the ship's core. They had followed the signal across uncharted space, through energy storms, past mysterious planets. And now they were at the threshold of something truly extraordinary. "This is it," Leora whispered. Her eyes traced the glowing patterns projected by the Arcadia. "Whatever is inside, it will tell us more than anything we've seen so far. The ship led us here for a reason." Rian nodded. "Let's approach carefully. Observe, learn, and document everything. This isn't about taking anything, it's about understanding." Kira adjusted her instruments and scanned the structure's surface. The energy readings are stable, yet unlike anything we know. It feels intelligent, like it's aware of our presence. Leora smiled. "Exactly. The ship didn't just guide us here. It prepared us. It trusted that humanity could understand and respect what it would show us." The boarding ramp extended, and the team moved toward the structure. Its surface was smooth, yet intricate, covered in glowing lines that formed shifting patterns. As their hands brushed against the panels, the lines responded, glowing brighter and revealing hidden symbols. It was a silent communication, a welcome, a test, and an invitation all at once. Inside, the air was different. It felt lighter, almost resonant, as if the structure itself had a rhythm. The walls glowed faintly with patterns that shifted as the team moved, responding to their presence. Leora realized that the structure was more than a building. It was a living archive, a repository of knowledge designed to teach and guide those who entered. Solan ran his hands over a panel, marveling at the design. "This is beautiful. The level of engineering, it's beyond anything humanity has ever built. And yet, it feels natural, like it belongs to the universe itself." As they advanced, the team entered a large central chamber. Holographic displays projected images of distant civilizations, advanced technologies, and landscapes of worlds they had never seen. The display pulsed with energy, and Leora realized that the structure was teaching them, showing them centuries of knowledge in a language beyond words. "This is incredible," she said softly. The structure. It's a library. But more than that, it's a teacher. It's showing us what the universe has experienced and learned, so humanity can continue that journey. Rian's gaze swept across the chamber. And it trusts us to use this knowledge responsibly. The Arcadia brought us here for a reason. We are the ones who can understand, learn, and grow. Kira's instruments picked up subtle fluctuations in the energy patterns. Look at this, she said. It's showing sequences, plans for sustainable energy, ways to travel efficiently through space, even hints at technologies that could help planets thrive. This isn't just history. It's guidance for the future. Leora nodded. Yes. It's not just about exploration or discovery. It's about understanding our place in the universe, learning how to live in harmony with it, and using knowledge wisely. As they moved deeper, they discovered chambers filled with artifacts, tools, devices, and objects that resonated with energy. Some were clearly functional, yet unlike anything humans had ever created. Each item seemed to carry information, teaching the team through subtle energy patterns, vibrations, and symbols. Solon picked up a small device and examined it. It's not dangerous, he said, but it's clearly advanced. The design alone could teach us centuries of engineering in a matter of hours. Leora smiled. The structure is designed to reward careful observation and thought. It's teaching us patience, attention, and curiosity, the same qualities that allowed humanity to survive and thrive. Hours passed as the team explored, studied, and documented. They realized that the structure's knowledge was vast, spanning sciences, arts, energy management, and even philosophies of life. The Arcadia's signal had guided them not just to a location, but to understanding. It had prepared them to see that humanity was capable of growth, not just survival. In one chamber, Leora approached a large holographic sphere. It displayed a network of star systems, connected by energy lines that pulsed like the heartbeat of the universe. As she interacted with it, the sphere responded, highlighting potential paths of exploration, communication, and cooperation across galaxies. This is incredible, Kira whispered. It's a map, but also a guide for civilization. Whoever built this wanted to share knowledge and teach future generations. Leora nodded, feeling a profound sense of connection. Yes, and the Arcadia chose us to receive it, because we were willing to follow curiosity, respect the unknown, and work together. That's what makes humanity special. As they continued, subtle changes occurred in the structure. The walls glowed brighter. Symbols shifted to reveal new patterns. And the energy in the air felt alive, almost like it was celebrating their presence. It was clear that the structure was aware not only of their actions but also of their intentions. Rian watched quietly, understanding what Leora already knew. We're not just exploring, he said. We're participating in something larger. Humanity is being given a chance to grow, to learn how to work with knowledge responsibly, and to prepare for a future among the stars. The team finally reached the central chamber of the structure, where the energy was strongest. A large crystalline formation hovered in the center, pulsing with light and resonating with the Arcadia's signal. Leora stepped forward carefully, feeling the energy hum through her body. This is the heart, she whispered. The source of the knowledge. The connection to everything the builders of this place wanted to share. The crystalline heart pulsed gently, and the room filled with holographic projections. Scenes of civilizations rising and thriving, using knowledge wisely and harmoniously, appeared around them. Other images showed potential futures, possibilities for growth, and ways humanity could interact with the universe responsibly. It's showing us what we could be, Kira said softly, her voice filled with awe. Not just explorers, but learners, teachers, and caretakers of knowledge. Solon nodded. And it's giving us the tools to do it. This is more than a discovery, it's a gift. Leora reached out to touch the crystal, and the energy flowed through her, not painful, but enlightening. Memories of the Arcadia's journey, the civilizations it had observed, and the knowledge it had collected, seemed to merge with her own thoughts. She realized that the ship and the structure were teaching them how to think, not just what to think. "This is what the Arcadia wanted," Leora said. "It guided us here so we could learn, grow, and carry this understanding back to humanity. We're the bridge between what has been and what can be." Rian stepped forward, placing a hand on her shoulder. "And we will. We will share what we've learned, carefully and wisely. This knowledge isn't just for us. It's for all of humanity." Hours turned into days as they continued to explore and learn. The Arcadia remained by the structure, its core pulsing in harmony with the crystalline heart. The team documented everything, recording patterns, energy flows, and technologies. They realized that some knowledge would take generations to fully understand. But even the smallest insights could change humanity forever. As the final day of exploration approached, the team gathered in the central chamber. The crystalline heart pulsed gently, a silent acknowledgement of their efforts and understanding. Leora felt a sense of peace and accomplishment unlike anything she had experienced. "This journey has changed us," she said softly. "Not just in what we've learned, but in who we are. Humanity is capable of incredible things when we follow curiosity, work together, and respect the universe." Kira nodded. "And the Arcadia? It knew we could do it. That's why it chose us." Rian smiled. "Yes. And now we take this knowledge back. We share it with humanity responsibly, and we continue the journey the Arcadia began centuries ago." Before leaving, Leora and the team placed markers in the structure, leaving messages of gratitude and observation. They documented their journey so that future explorers would know how to approach, learn, and respect the wonders of the universe. As they boarded the Arcadia one last time, the crystalline heart pulsed brightly, filling the ship with a warm, guiding energy. Leora felt the signal from the Arcadia merge with the structure, creating a perfect harmony of knowledge, guidance, and trust. The ship lifted off slowly, the massive structure shrinking in the viewport. The Arcadia's engines glowed as it prepared for the journey home, carrying not just the crew but the knowledge and lessons they had learned. The pulse of the signal remained strong, a constant reminder of the partnership between humanity and the universe. On the long journey back to Arendor, the team reflected on what they had experienced. The discoveries, the guidance, and the sense of connection had changed them. They understood that humanity's potential was limitless, not because of strength or power, but because of curiosity, intelligence, and the ability to work together. "This is only the beginning," Leora said, gazing at the stars. "We've learned so much, but there's still so much more out there. The universe is vast, and humanity is ready to explore it, guided by knowledge, curiosity, and respect." Rian nodded. "And we will. We've been given a gift, and now it's our responsibility to carry it forward. Humanity will rise to the challenge." As the Arcadia glided silently through space, the stars stretched infinitely ahead. The pulse of the signal continued, steady and strong, a reminder that exploration, learning, and wonder were the essence of humanity. The journey had begun a new chapter, one filled with hope, discovery, and the promise that humanity could achieve greatness when guided by knowledge, courage, and respect. And so, the Arcadia returned to the stars, not just as a ship, but as a symbol of humanity's potential, a century-old vessel that had awakened a new generation, showing them that the universe was vast, mysterious, and full of opportunity. Humanity's journey among the stars had only just begun, and the lessons of the Arcadia would guide them for generations to come.